Hello, MOU Committee members. This is Jake Von Lindy, and just wanted to give you a update and recap of our first meeting so you can be up to speed. Just a reminder that an MOU means a Memorandum of Understanding, and MOUs are often used to establish a commitment to work together in good faith and can be used to document expectations or intentions. And that is going to be our work for the READ Act. Our agenda for the first evening, we'll kind of walk you through it as we go through, but we did a check-in. We ran through the overall purpose of our meetings. We did a READ Act overview. We looked at our letters and carry-out groups. And then we looked at the background information from the MOU, which was from the MSBA, which is the Minnesota School Boards Association, as well as the Education Minnesota. And then we did some notice and wonderings about those, and we looked at planning our next meeting. We did a quick check-in. These were our questions. The purpose of our committee is going to be to develop an MOU for the READ Act funding that describes these different areas: the training programs that we're going to be using, the eligible teachers, the compensation model, the credit recognition, the end date and timelines, and how we're going to have our staff prove their completion. The purpose of our first meeting was to understand why we're meeting to develop the MOU, understand the READ Act requirements, and understand the aspects of the MOU that we need to develop. Just a reminder of the READ Act and some MDE information. Originally, the READ Act was passed in May of 2023, but then it was revised in May of 2024, and now it's called the READ Act 2.0. The main requirement that we're going to be looking at is that professional development is required in the area of structured literacy and science of reading. There is 3 approved programs. The other bullets describe the other areas that the READ Act requires for us to do as a district, but we're going to focus on that main one. You can see that's highlighted, that professional development. At the bottom, that second larger bullet is the MDE READ Act website. There is a link in there if you'd like to explore the READ Act website. There is a lot of other information about the READ Act if you are interested in that. So our professional development, this is what happens in the professional development for carry-all and letters, the ones that we have chosen so far to put our teachers through. You can see that it must be an evidence-based structured literacy training, which includes all those different areas below, as well as there is 3 different approved programs that we must pass with an 80% score, which includes letters, carry-all, and the other one is called core. We have not dipped our toes into that one. This second slide about professional development is the who, so who we need to provide professional development and training for. These dates moved around with READ Act 2.0. The ones in the Phase 1 area were actually supposed to be completed according to the READ Act 1.0 were July 1st of 2025, and the Phase 2 was supposed to be done by July 1st of 2020. I think it actually stays in 2027. But there was some movement between some of the groups. So you'll see the ones down in here, the grades pre-K through 12 educators who work with English learners. That group used to be up in the Phase 1. And also the grades K through age 21 educators who work with students who qualify for the Graduation Incentive Program, which is our alternative high school teachers. That was up in Phase 1. Those both got bumped down to Phase 2. And we had already decided that we were moving forward by the time that READ Act 2.0 was put into place at the end of May 2024. So we did move those groups forward. You can see all the different groups that we discussed that we needed to move forward with our training, and many of these groups we have already had training prior to that July 1st, 2026. So we have our pre-K classroom educators, our K through 3 classroom educators, our grades K through 12 reading intervention educators, our grades pre-K through 12 special education educators responsible for reading instruction, grades pre-K through 5 curriculum directors, grades pre-K through 5 instructional support staff that provides reading support, so that would be our rater support staff. There's more information that'll be coming out. They will have a shorter training that's going to be available to them. I believe it's going to be like an 8-hour training. And then employees who select literacy instructional materials for grades pre-K through 5, and then 4th and 5th grade teachers depending on the structure of the element, 6th grade depending on the structure of our elementary school. So those all need to be completed by July 1st of 2026. Mostly those are folks that are in our elementary grades and our special educators. In phase 2, need to be done by July 1st of 2027. Anybody who is left from grades 4 through 12, classroom educators that are responsible for reading instruction. As we talked about, folks who are working with our English language learners, with our multilingual learner teachers. Grade K through age 21 who qualify for graduation incentives program, our alternative high school teachers. And then grades 6 through 12, any instructional staff who provide reading support, so that's again our rater support. Anybody who is a grade 6 through 12 curriculum directors, or any other employee who selects literacy instructional materials. So that is the full list of when people need to be trained and have their training. This is a link that provides some information about our different carry-all and letters cohorts, and this will help to see where some of our groups went through and who is going to be eligible, and that is a part of our conversations as we move forward. So you can see we're calling these some different groups. So we had a letters MDE cohort that went through originally. That was a pilot that began with the Minnesota Department of Education. You can see they began in the fall of 2021. All of that work was done outside of our contract hours for that first year. And there was some compensation that was provided for those staff that went through. We started a new group in letters of 2022. We talked about them as beginning in the fall of 2022. We planned out our PD so that it was work that was done for our, especially our synchronous sessions were all done within our school hours. And then we were given some time during PLCs to finish that work. There was not compensation that was provided for people during that time. We have Carry-All 2024, so those are the groups that are just beginning in this fall. That is mostly our special educators and our multilingual learner teachers, as well as our teachers who are teaching at FAS in our alternative high school. That began this fall. We have about 53 people that are working through that. That also includes myself and Chris Hester. Our Letters 2024 group, we were going to start a group for this year. We have some teachers that have not gone through that are elementary teachers. We decided not to start them this year. We canceled that group because we were not able to find times or sessions for them during our school year. So during our PD calendar, there was not times that would align with when that letters training was offered. MDE told us with only 20 people, we wouldn't be able to have a full cohort. If we have a full cohort, then they will allow us to tell us the days that we need the training. If it's less than their full cohort, which I believe is 30 to 40, then they will look at when to schedule on our PD days. So we decided that we would wait and join in with the Letters 2025 group. So we're going to have some our grade 5th and 6th, our 5th and 6th grade teachers, as well as new hires to elementary, join that Letters 2024 group to all start in Letters 2025. have a larger group, a larger cohort, and we can schedule those out during our PD times. And then we're also talking about where are we going to start a carry-all group next year for some of our folks who are secondary ELA or others that we've missed coming through the training this year. So the question is whether we start that group in 2025 or 2026. Kind of separately from that, you can see in the corner we talked about, do we also need to think about our rater support staff as mentioned in the READ Act, and that would have to be a separate process. This was just READ Act information around compensation that we got from the Minnesota Department of Education. It's important to note that this is the amount of money that we get, so $36.06 per year prior. So that means our 2023 fall child count, so our October 1st number of students that we get, it would mean that we would get $36 per each of those students. We will have to have our business department bring that exact amount of funding that we will get to one of our meetings that's coming up as a part of our MOU process. So then we gave our folks time for reading. We have different reading materials that are provided from the Education Minnesota and then also the MSBA, which is the Minnesota School Boards Association. So here is our reading materials that we gave our folks some time to read. We would appreciate if you, by our next meeting, could read this article. Gives you some background around the READ Act and also around compensation. The other one is the Education Minnesota and MSBA READ Act model MOU. You can see that this is an actual written out MOU, and the areas that you see in red are the areas that we would fill in with the information that we decide upon. So please read through this before our next meeting, paying special attention to the areas in red. There is the model MOU, and then just different examples in the appendices around the different training programs, developing who is eligible for this funding, what our compensation will look like, and different models for that. And what it looks like for credit recognition, if any. And the last part is the end date. When does this MOU end? So please have that read by the next time that we come back. At our meeting in person, we did talk about what we noticed and wondered about. Something that we noticed, letters training, year 1 is 1 through 4, and then the year 2 is 5 through 8. So that was just talking about the units of study that folks had to do. So there's 2 years that go along with the letters training. That first year is units 1 through 4, and that second year is units 1 through 5. We were talking about that as a part of the different assignments that teachers need to do and how we might break that up and think about that because it is over 2 years, whereas Carry All is a 1-year program. So is there different things that we do for stipending for that? And is there mid-year plans that we do in some of the different models for compensation? So just wanted folks to notice that. The other things that we wondered about, what happens if we don't use all of the money? What is the total amount that Roseville received? What happens if there's a failure to comply? Does that come from the state? What happens if folks don't finish their carry-all or letters? And what's the difference if people willfully don't complete or they just can't complete it? We talked about the dates, then who is eligible, and the completion. How is it completed? Should we do this in sections of time or when folks are finished? So it's just things that we'll be talking about at our upcoming meetings. And then we had some time to talk about our meeting coming up on November 19th. Some of our topics that we wanted to for our next time is how do we get others up to speed, and we're doing it through this quick screencast. And then we want to jump into the MOU specifications. So looking at the numbers of people especially, and how many people are we having to put through this, and then are we holding any money back? What if the money isn't used? And then Kenyatta McCarty will be bringing some information around comparable districts to look at their MOUs as well, so we can have some examples. Then we had a quick closing, and that was the end of our meeting. Hopefully this catches you up, and please take some time to read through these two documents so that you are prepared for our next meeting coming up on November 19th. Thank you very much.